What's up, Zee Raka, over infinity. When you go out and you're sun gazing, you know that your eyes are the biggest portals of light into your body. It's where your brain perceives light and everything, you know what I'm saying? But if you look at your pores are just like tiny little eyes all over your body. And everywhere you go, and everything that you do, especially outside, is going to be taking in those sun rays. That's why it's best to try and stay out of these artificial lights as much as possible, and to get into nature and just hang out with some true light. And that's why people will start to get depressed, you know what I'm saying? That's that vitamin D that you need. Remember now that your DNA acts as a written language. It literally translates, and it is written like a book which you can read. You literally have a DNA code, and this is where light codes comes from, and it's important to understand why. But the point is that they did studies with photons, or phonons, which is the sound of light, you know what I'm saying? It's light sound particles. And they realized that when you subject a strand of DNA to these phonon sound, or these light photons, what happens is that the light photons will actually stick themselves to the outside of the DNA. And it's funny because you've heard all throughout your esoteric learnings, you know what I'm saying, that for millions of years people have talked about your light body. And this is probably what this could actually be one of the versions. This is probably what they're actually talking about, because when you actually get enough of the proper light, you actually encase your DNA with light strands. And what they did is they actually removed the DNA after it was encased, and they still had the exoskeleton of an actual strand of DNA made out of completely light. So this is your light body, and people, you know, they hear that you need to get into the sun, but sometimes people just need to know exactly why. And there's a lot of people still working with the left side of the brain, dealing with logic, and they need to hear that that little spiel. With that being said, talking about left brain, right brain, you'll notice that the beast has tried really hard to keep the darker melanated individuals in poverty, and in poverty because they didn't want them to get the education, or they didn't want them to move forward in this life. But see, where they messed up was the fact that their schooling only has to do with left brain thinking, logical problem solving, note taking. It's taking in the exact information that they said and it's spitting it out word for word without literally thinking outside the box. There's no creativity to it, there's no soul to it, you know what I'm saying? So really their plan backfired, with this life being a small blip in the experience that you're going to have, because it's an ongoing thing and it never stops. Your life right now is just like a small portion of it, and tons of cultures spent their whole life preparing for death. So this is why you do this, you know what I'm saying? And this is why sun gazing is important, or flame gazing, or however you need to get that natural source of light. What they don't realize is that with this life being such a small blip in the actual experience that you're going to have, they're perpetually keeping this place cyclical. Realize and understand and overstand, it's not about the white man, it's about ignorant individuals who are fighting for the system because they don't know that the system doesn't give a shit about them. And that's really what it all comes down to. You can't even say that all so-called white individuals are necessarily the beast, because they are oftentimes just as ignorant, and the thing is, they're going to be more stubborn in their ignorance because they have been trained. So what I'm saying is, people, you shouldn't be too worried about people waving their career and their jobs and all of their different schooling in your face, because if they don't understand the spiritual side of things, then they're lacking. So basically, sometimes the people who look like they're upholding the system are just as ignorant as everybody else, but they've had more training to be ignorant. In a sense, your biggest curse could be your biggest blessing, and this is only an example. You need to create, and you need to realize the ways that you're actually being blissed. And bliss, without the B, the word means to be released from pain. So add that B, you know what I'm saying, that 13, and just live in bliss. And that's what that's about. 13 love to my brothers and my sea stars and everything in between. 13.